Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. I am super excited because 1 week from today I will be revealing who my abusive employer is, because 6 days from today they will no longer, well, this will be my last day, so 1 week from today they won't be my employer anymore, and I will be out here on the homestead full-time, homesteading with my wife and my son full-time, riding again full-time, which is what I'm passionate about. But I won't be going in there working under such extreme conditions, and unfortunately I'm leaving behind a lot of good folks there, a lot of wonderful co-workers who are still working 6 and 7 days a week for weeks on end without a break, and under, a severe shortage of staff. The conditions are terrible. I lost some sleep last night because I was wrestling with, should I even go into work today or not? And I'm trying to do the right thing by working out the 2 weeks notice. I've worked out the first week. That's behind me. I've got 1 week to go, and I'll get my 2 days off because this, the head honcho at the place where I work was ordered by her superiors to honor this note. And I wasn't going to read any of this until next week when I make the video where I reveal the employer, the abusive employer. But I'm going to kind of show you how terrible this is, because I kind of overheard a phone conversation last night. On my way out, I was talking to a couple of my supervisors who are wonderful women. I love them. I'm going to miss them when I'm gone. And one was getting screamed at from our boss's boss through the phone, and some of the things and she wasn't trying to intentionally allow anybody to hear what this guy was saying, but you couldn't help but hear it if you were within 10 feet of him and or her in this phone. But basically, he was going on and on about, the products we deliver not being delivered. And she said, well, it's because we are severely understaffed. And he says, well, if the people weren't calling out all the time, if you'd fire a few of them. And she said, they're calling out because they're exhausted. We're working these people 7 days a week for weeks at a time, and they just can't handle it anymore, and they have to have a break, and they call out. They're exhausted. And I heard him screaming, of course they're exhausted. We're working the crap out of them, and we're going to keep working the crap out of them, because if the job doesn't get done, the finger's getting pointed at us being management, of course. And so I hear this and I'm like, wow, that really lets me know where we, the employees of this establishment, who will be named next week, matter, or we don't. So, but at any rate, I'm going to read you part of this. This is from my psychiatrist at the shrink. So for those of you who say I need therapy, again, I've gotten it. I keep this with me, and I keep a letter in here, my letter of immediate resignation at all times, in case if my employer wants to get stupid and try to get rid of me before my last day. I'll just simply date it, sign it, and be gone. This is not going to end well for my abusive employer under any means, and if they want to get stupid, it's just going to end worse, because I'll be telling you the story of basically who they are that much sooner. But so after working 16 days straight, because the person in charge of the institution where I work here for the establishment in Charlottesville put out a direct order that we were to have no days off until further notice. So I worked 16 days straight, and I finally had to call out. I'd fallen asleep behind the wheel of the car on the way home the night before, and I almost, I'm fortunate to have made it home to my beautiful wife and my son. So I didn't go to work the next day, and I made an appointment at the VA and went in and saw a psychiatrist, and he told me up front, this guy's a retired full bird colonel. He said, I'm not going to write you a note to get your hours reduced, because I don't do that. He doesn't believe in malingering. He said, tell me what's going on, and I'll see what we can do. And so I told him about our work environment, the work conditions. And for the first time in his 27-year-long career, he actually wrote a note to kind of get me a reprieve, because his concern, not only that it wasn't healthy what was going on there and to me, but that it was not legal. And so he felt that he had to do his part and step in on the sake of a veteran. And the people that work there who aren't veterans, they need a break too. This isn't just I should get special treatment because I'm a vet. Some people are taking that way, these things I say in the comments. That has more to do with you, and it has nothing to do with me. Everybody who is a human being deserves to be treated with respect and dignity, and my co-workers who never served in the military don't deserve the treatment they're getting down there either. So anyway, and this is very private and very personal medical information, and I wrestled with, should I share this? But I'm going to, because the whole point of this is to help other people who are in a situation where they're being bullied by an abusive employer. We don't take it. We stand up to them. You know, I traveled half a world away to fight terrorists. I'm not backing down from some abusive boss here in the United States. So anyway, and this is a letter, by the way, that when I gave it to my employer, she read it and she dropped it on her desk and said, "This don't mean nothing here. This don't mean nothing here. You trying to get light duty? I ain't giving you light duty. I'm going to tell you what it says that she says means nothing here." All right, here he wrote about my history. Says, oh, the arm's getting tired. I need to get that tripod you guys have been talking about. But it says, Mr. Lake suffered significant trauma and losses during his deployment to Iraq in 2008-2009. After his return, he developed significant psychiatric problems, including post-traumatic stress disorder, major depression, and substance abuse. His recovery has been lengthy with numerous setbacks. The current excessive demands of the fill in the blank of my abusive employer's name here, which I'll fill that blank in for you next Saturday, are exacerbating his condition and causing him significant medical harm. Diagnosis: post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic, major depressive episode, recurrent and moderate. That means I suffer at times from situational depression, which this work environment has brought on. It's the first time in years. And substance use disorder in remission. Okay, what that means is substance abuse is a part of my history. It hasn't been a part of my life for several years, both drugs and alcohol. And I don't say that to brag that I'm clean and sober, because I know that it's a daily reprieve and it could be gone. I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. And I guess to me, being free of these addictions for today is as important to me as or more than my military service. So to have someone read this who's working the crap out of you, even though you're exhausted, so that the fingers don't get pointed at her if the job doesn't get done, to read this and drop it on her desk and say, "This don't mean nothing here." So she said, you know, you can go to this person or that person and they might force me to honor this, but if they do, I'll schedule you to come in at noon. And basically that was the threat, that she would retaliate. And so I had a choice. I could keep working 7 days a week indefinitely, 8 to 12 hours a day, risk dying, or maybe risking a relapse on substances, or just the nightmares of PTSD, insomnia, which was coming back. Or I could go above her and I could get her to be forced to honor this. But then, of course, I was running the risk of her punishing my paycheck through retaliation by bringing me in at noon instead of 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I'd been going in at 9. So I went above her head because I don't back down from bullies. And she was forced to honor the note, and she retaliated. She started bringing me in at noon. My last paycheck was cut in half. And I mentioned this in yesterday's video, when it rains, it pours. We have other funds, and we don't need any help. A lot of people have offered, thank you, but you know, I've always lived below my means. Even when we were in the Philippines living off of $2 a day, we were living below our means. It's just something I've always kind of done. And I don't mix friends and family and coworkers with money, finances, lending, borrowing, and business. I've done that in the past, and that's something I will never do again. Any lending or borrowing that my family ever does will be with a financial institution. And I mention this because I had to transfer funds. Our internet was down. Maria, beautiful young lady in the Philippines, thank you, Maria, got our internet fixed for us. And I did the transfer, but it didn't settle because it takes 3 business days and it's not going to be here till Monday. So I was telling my supervisors this last night, I said, I hope I come to work this weekend, because once I'm out of gas, if I run out of gas between now and Monday, I'm out of gas and I want to get stuck in town, and I have enough to get in and back. And I think, to be honest about it, I was kind of looking for an excuse not to go to the job I hate that makes me miserable. But I'm going. I have enough gas. And our house is full of food. Our bills are paid. They're current. We're not behind. We just have to wait till Monday morning for these funds to settle. So anyway, and I told my supervisors, because they offered to lend me $20 in gas money. And I said, listen, it's not the job of the supervisor to lend an employee money for gas to get to work, because our boss, the head honcho, is punishing me out of retaliation with my paycheck and making my fundage a little low. And there was a wonderful young lady there that I work with who I've seen I mentioned in one video, one of my coworkers kind of had a breakdown after working. I know I went 16 days. She went longer than me. I don't know if it was 17, 18, 20 days, but she just fell down on the floor crying, saying, I cannot do what you're asking me to do because it's not physically possible. And they sent her home. She offered to give me some money for gas, and I told her thank you, but no thank you. And I'm really flattered. And we've had people, they want to come get involved. They want to come help us build stuff for our goats and stuff on the homestead. And I appreciate this, and I'm flattered by it, but no, and this is part of who I am, and not everybody's going to agree with this, and you might not be the same way, but you know, some of the folks, some of you in the comments have been saying, oh, you're wise beyond your years. I love listening to your wisdom. I'm not wise. I do not proclaim to be wise. I'm a guy who has made a lot of mistakes in life and who is simply trying to use these mistakes as learning lessons. And one of those lessons I had to learn numerous times and go back and repeat the class was mixing money and business with friends and family. Quick story. Years ago, about 10 years ago, I was in Madigan Army Hospital. It was after Iraq. I spent 6 months there getting treatment and rehabbing from an injury, a non-combat related injury. Okay, this is no attempt at stolen valor, trolls. It was a non-combat related injury that I suffered in Iraq that needed treatment. They broke me, they fixed me in the Army. They kept their word on that. So I'm on active duty, orders. I'm laying around a hospital bed and in a dorm. It was called the Warriors in Transition Battalion. Wonderful people working there. And well, the money's just kind of piling up in my bank because I didn't have any bills because I was on active orders with the military. Well, a relative of mine, and I won't say how this person was related, needed some money. And this is a person who her whole life, she kind of always had somebody taking care of her needs instead of her actually going out and taking care of her needs on her own. So, you know, those of you watching this, most of you and myself, when I have an issue that needs to be resolved, my first thought is, what can I do to resolve this issue? How do I resolve this issue? Well, this other person, and there's people like this out there, and I'm not judging them. You know, when it's who they are. It's part of their personality. When they have a problem, they think, who can I go to who can fix my problem for me? Who has the resources or the means to allow me to get to where I want to be? And how can I convince that person to give me a portion of their resources and means to get me to that place? That's not me. And those people get nowhere with me. They used to. This isn't, I've been all wise and knowledgeable my whole life and they've never gotten anywhere with me. Those people used to get very far with me. And that's why I immediately say no now to these people under no conditions. And this is an example of that. This person comes to me, she says, I need $1,500. I know you have it. I need it. Can you loan it to me? She said loan. And I said, I don't want to loan you money because we're related and I don't want this to destroy our relationship if you don't pay it back. And I harbor resentment because of that. And she says, oh, I got this credit card. It's maxed out. My husband doesn't know about it. It's going to collections. If he finds out, he'll divorce me because, you know, I've always been bad with money. Yes, you always have been bad with money because when you had a shortage, you always went to somebody else to fix your problem instead of learning how to solve your own problems. So at any rate, I thought about it and I thought, you know, I have it. She doesn't. I should help. So I told her, I said, I'm going to give you $1,500. This is not a loan. Don't ever try to pay me back or I'll be offended. I'm going to give you this money. I gave her the money and she said, thank you. 3 days later, she comes back and she needs another $1,500. Same story. She got a credit card. Husband's going to divorce her, blah, blah, blah. And I saw that yet again, my kindness had been mistaken for a weakness. And I told her no. I said, no, I could help you the first time. I was happy to help you. You still never owe me that money back. But I'm not so sure I kind of have enough to where I can do it this time. So I'm not going to. She never spoke to me again. And this is someone, I was 36 years old at that time, and she's older than me. So I'd known her for 36 years. She hasn't spoken to me in 10 years. So that's why, and this young lady at work who offered $20 in gas, I'm not, she's not the kind of person who goes seeking how to get from others so that this girl's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen in my life, and she comes and helps me when I'm not finished on my route, and she's been a blessing in my life. But I'm kind of giving you a backstory as to why I don't mix friends and family with money or lending, borrowing, or business. You know, I've had friends in the past who I brought on into venture business ventures in the past, and we're not friends anymore. So it's just not going to happen. Me and my wife and my son, even just with the homestead, which isn't we're out here doing our thing. We've had people offering to come out and help. We don't want that. We appreciate it, but this is us. This is our life. This sounds harsh, but you weren't with us when we were in the jungles living on $2 a day, and we didn't need the help then, and we don't need it now. We don't want it now. This homesteading thing for us, it's a lifestyle. It's about being able to be with us, the people that we love. Me, my wife, my son, we are a solid unit. And I mean, it does sound selfish, but I just don't want a bunch of people coming up here and infringing on that unit. If we invite you, great, you're more than welcome, and there's people we've invited. But if we don't invite you, I don't know, we kind of appreciate it if you don't come. That sounds bad, but I'm just kind of being honest about who I am, and my stance on that. A couple months ago, nobody was offering to help do all these things, but they are now for some reason, and I've noticed. So anyway, I've got a week to go. I hope I can continue to do the right thing, and and I am going to tell who this employer is, and I could be gone with it, or be done with it and put it behind me, and I'm going to at that point and throw myself back into the homesteading and throw myself back into the writing. But just yesterday I found out about a situation there at work, and it's terrible. I'm going to share this with you and wrap it up, because I have to go get ready to go to work at the job I hate that makes me miserable. But there was this beautiful young girl that just started working at this place a couple of weeks ago. I say, young girl, I'm in my mid-40s, so she's in her mid-20s, a Latina girl, very pretty. And I never even spoke to her. Have you guys noticed that in our society, it's gotten so bad with interpersonal relationships that if you're friendly with somebody, they'll mistake that for flirting? I've had that happen, and I don't want that happening, especially in a work environment. So I've kept my distance, but I noticed her. I noticed all the new people coming in, replacing all the old people going out, which I'll soon be replaced. I'm out in a week. Well, one night, gosh, the wildlife has heard my invitation. Check out this little bunny over here by the firewood. I'm going to see if I can zoom in on it. This is my wife's iPhone. Well, I can't. Can you see it? It's right behind this newer pile of pine. There's a little bunny rabbit sitting over there, eating grass and listening to me. Okay, so anyway, hello, bunny. A few nights ago, 8 p.m., I'm leaving. I see this girl come rolling in, and they send her back out to deliver some more product. She's low person on the totem pole, and I thought, this poor thing, that's where I was, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. I finally started telling them no. You put in 10 hours, you come back, and they're trying to send you out. I've been sent out at 8 p.m. with like 20 items and told, do not come back into this office until these have all been delivered, because they've already been scanned as if they were. And so I'm creeping up on people's porches at 10 o'clock at night, hoping they don't hear me, because if somebody's creeping up on my porch at 10 o'clock at night out here, and I'm inside with my wife and my kid, that person might not make it off my porch. I'm just saying. And a lot of you feel the same way. So we're creeping up there. So they're doing this to this girl, and I wanted to approach her and say, hey, if you just tell them no, they'll stop. They'll go, and they'll send somebody else out. So I never told her. And so yesterday I was there at work, and somebody approached me and said, did you hear about so-and-so? I'm like, who's so-and-so? Because I never knew her name, and they told me it was her. And it turns out a couple of days ago, I guess this week, she was in an accident. She was out working. I don't know what time it was. I don't know if it was after dark. I don't know if it was late. I don't know how many days in a row she might have worked without a break. But she was in an accident, and she suffered broken ribs, and her beautiful face was mangled. And this is so unfortunate. And and then I hear this guy on the phone talking about, yeah, they're exhausted because we're working the crap out of them, and we're going to keep working the crap out of them, because if these things don't get delivered, the finger gets pointed at us being management. And just the total disregard for humanity with this attitude is sickening. But I've got a week to go. And if this girl, I don't even know your name, but if you're watching this, I'm sorry that I didn't approach you out of my own fear, which, I mean, you probably wouldn't have taken my kindness as flirtations. It's unfortunately a lot of folks do, and I'm shy to even approach that. But I hope you're recovering well, and I hope you get better. And so with that, I've got to go get ready. And the videos we're going to be bringing you after I'm gone are going to be completely related to homesteading, farming, gardening, all these things. Not me talking about the job I hate that makes me miserable, but for now that's kind of taking up a lot of space in my head, so I guess I am. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you to the 1,000 subscribers a day we're getting. Thank you for everybody that's already subscribed. And if you enjoyed this and got anything out of it, we invite you to subscribe. And here's a parting shot of the homestead. I hope you enjoy your day today.